this all the time. Love it.
Hi, my name is Nick. I'm inside the SC430. The car is cold, has not started yet, so I put the windows down and I just want you to hear what the engine sounds like. So quite nice.
I just pressed the power button mode and already the car is a bit louder. So quite very spirited drive already to start with, which is amazing. That's what makes this car very unique. I've got my hat on because it's only 7 degrees. So it is a cold morning, but a fun. This is the thing about driving in London, you get stuck in traffic a lot, and traffic lights, congested traffic, roadwork, all of these are very common, and driving a car of this engine size, you really need to take it out a bit and rev the engine a bit more than just driving 20 or 30 miles an hour continuously. So you want 70 miles an hour on the motorway, and you'll see how the car sounds absolutely amazing and very well composed. With a roof down, that's the best part of it. You can have a roof up. The car interior wise is very quiet. You do hear the engine, but it does feel like you've got two vehicles in one. Roof down, if you want to have a bit more fun, take benefits of the weather, and hear the engine. Roof up, you can have a quiet car if you wish to, and change the settings. And doing long driving, I think it's probably a good option to have. This is a really unique vehicle because you've got hard rooftop, and it's not hydraulic, it's fully electric operating motor to open the roof and close the roof. And that means also it's a lot more reliable, it lasts longer, and 24 years old, almost 25, and it's a car that you feel you could do long distance driving, really having too much anxiety. Is it going to be able to cope long driving? And I think it can. In fact, I'm actually going to take the car to France, so that will be quite a good thing to do. The UK roads are not so good, sometimes can be a bit bumpy and it detriments the ride. But the suspensions I've done with Mister, they're very, very good. They're actually better than the OEM suspensions because it gives you the firmness but also the comfort. So it's not too firm, but when you are driving it on the band, the car is very well composed. You don't feel like it's rocking with a heavy boat and you're going to one side or the other and it's not handling well. So because the SC430 is quite a heavy vehicle, I think it's about 2.5 tons. I might be wrong about the numbers, but it's something like that. So it's quite a heavy vehicle, but well built, that's for sure. Another good feature about this car is that a lot of people are thinking, well, I'm not going to put a roof down, it's too cold outside, but actually the car is designed to keep you warm. So I've got a heated seat on, you can have the radiators, the fans on and the heaters on, and it will give you nice temperature, and I can feel my feet are warm because it really increased the temperature from underneath, and you get this warm air continuously coming up and warm air on the vents, and that makes a bit of a difference. You feel like you can drive outside with the roof down with no complaint really. So with the Lexus SC430, it does have this option of keeping you warm even if the temperature is not warm outside. A real bonus, and again, that was something they thought through to make sure passenger and driver are kept very comfortable and not in the cold. and you still have this option of putting the roof down despite cold temperatures outside. I've done it many times and it's actually good fun. You drive out and you feel everywhere outside is cold, but here in the cabin you're fairly warm, so can't complain about this. It's amazing. I'm going to join the A1 towards Hatfield. There's a lovely tunnel in Hatfield, and that's where you will be able to hear the blast with this engine. I mean, absolutely amazing. I can't wait for that. In fact, every tunnel I drive to, my gosh, the car is very, very loud. I mean, you can tell it's like a big engine, but it's the exhaust system, and the engine is 4.3 litres, so it's a V8. You benefit from it. So now around 50 miles an hour, that's what we're doing on this road. But you can tell the car is very able. Amazing to feel that you can actually do all of that. It is cold, but we're going to have some good weather, so that's a positive thing. I wanted to do a video yesterday, but the weather was too unpredictable, and I wanted to drive in Hatfield. Tunnels on the A1 towards Hatfield will be quite fun, and I'm hoping that the microphone and the video camera will do justice to capture these unique moments. So sometimes you get this explosion of the engine, depending on how you are revving it with the accelerator. But if you're not pressing the accelerator all the time, you don't have this sound being loud all the time. The reason you hear this is because I'm putting my foot on the accelerator and I do it very sensibly. But if I press a bit harder, the engine sounds will be a lot louder, and you get a good response. It's a naturally aspirated engine. They've done a great job how they make this engine really responsive, even more with a throttle controller thanks to SC430 mods. I think the guy is called Kevin, has done an amazing job putting it in place, and many people have said it really transforms the car. So if you haven't had this throttle controller from SC430 mods, I would highly recommend. It's not expensive. I think it's something like $110. I don't know if it has increased or not, but it's really, really good, easy to do, and it really makes the car a different animal overnight. It feels like you've got a different car altogether. Because what was lacking in terms of performance sometimes, or the car felt a little bit too asleep, the throttle controller sorts it out. And if you want to go even beyond that, I would recommend ECU remap, Phonics Engine Management. They specialize in doing ECU remaps for Lexus mainly, and they are one of the best in my view. They've done this ECU remap on my car, and it's fascinating. It revs up to 7,000 RPM, and when you put the car on power mode, it's different. I mean, really is. Plus, with a throttle controller, all of that accentuates the responsiveness of this vehicle, and the engine is so different, much more awake, much more like a contemporary car that you have these days, and it feels like you've got more brake horsepower. And they've said it doesn't really add more brake horsepower, but what it does is that they do this engine management and change the ratio and make the car a little bit more fuel efficiency as well if you put it on normal mode. But on the power mode, it holds the rev and the gears longer, so that's why the car becomes louder. And if you've got all these set up with the exhaust upgrade, you get something different. But I have been told, because I did the exhaust with power flow exhaust, that because the exhausts are wider, you get more air going in, coming out, and that releases more power from the engine. There was so much more power that I had to get new gasket and new spark plugs. I had an engine problem at one point, but it's all been resolved, and Lexus sorted it out. And I think it's because of the age of the car. It was never done, and all of a sudden the car got more power with the exhaust, with the ECU remap and the throttle controller. So all these things could be contributors to. It really made a massive difference because the car is a lot more alert, and that makes a huge difference. It's quite amazing. Now, because we're driving a little bit at higher speed, I'm going to put the windows up, which hopefully will not interfere too much with the sound. As you can see, the engine is a lot more responsive with the power mode and with the throttle controller set at 2.9. 3.9 to me is too much for this car, so I don't want to be put into 100%, but 2.9 is sufficient enough. The cool feature about this car, it has got cruise control, and it's on 70 miles an hour cruise control, and it's just steady with the speed, and it's amazing. If you do long distance driving, amazing car to be driving for. Very capable, very smooth, very planted, very comfortable, and roof is down, the windows are up, and yet I don't feel much air in the cabin, so it's pretty amazing. And much louder. There's two sets of bridges that we're going under, and I just want to hear. Immediately the sound is way more. We're now going to Hatfield Tunnel, and this is what I've been waiting for. So you get to hear the engine, what it sounds like. Absolutely glorious. And I warn you, this is going to be quite loud. Here we go. This all the time. I haven't done 0 to 60 acceleration, but I'm quite confident it will be on in a region of 5 seconds, which is quite impressive for a car of this age. I don't think it will be anything below. It does really sound amazing, and that's what you want for a car like this. It's not about getting 0 to 60 the quickest, but more getting this connection with the car and the sound of the engine makes a massive difference. Miles an hour, the car sounds absolutely amazing, it's epic. Now we are re-entering the tunnel, and let's have some more fun one more time. absolutely epic. In fact, any V8 lovers, V10, V12, V16 will all be saying the same thing. It's so much fun. It's just allow the engine to sound its best. And it's a shame that we want to get rid of V8, V10, V12, but I don't think that will ever happen. There will always be a market where people want to keep them. The growling of a V8 is unique. It's only 9 degrees and I'm not cold at all. The seats are super warm, my feet are very warm, my legs are warm, and here it feels like the air is coming on very warm on my face, and it's absolutely lovely. Every now and then I think it's fun to take the car for a blast. If you're always driving in town, it's really hard, you can't do it. You've got to get a car driving at the speed limit. And driving 20 miles an hour is not good for this kind of a car. It's not designed to be driven at 20 miles an hour. 30 minimum. But I think it's important to keep it running well and drive from time to time on the motorway or on the A1 or national roads where you can actually explore 60 miles an hour or 70 depending on the kind of roads you're driving onto. But that makes a big difference. I believe a car is meant to be driven, so if you keep the car all the time in a garage, fine for a few days, but you want to drive a car a little bit. You got more problems not driving the car than driving the car, if that makes sense. But you don't have to drive a car excessively, but do a bit of driving with it to keep the engine running, to keep all these pieces working together. And that, I think, it increases the longevity of a car. If you never drive it, then there's more risk of a problem, because all of a sudden you want to drive with a vehicle and you're causing some issues with it. It's amazing to have a car that is able to do that, short distances, long distances, drive really well on the road, no lacking of power, there to really take you wherever you need to be. And it's quite exceptional. The other day I serviced my car at Lexus for MOT and annual service. Flying colors, absolutely fine. And I parked my car next to an LC500, a red car, beautiful with a brown interior. I mean, absolutely striking. And it was an LC500 convertible. And when I parked my car next to it, I realized a lot of things. But I knew the LC500 was big, and yet you still have all the rooms inside, very comfortable, you don't feel squashed, very comfortable room for passenger and possibility of having a passengers in the back for short distances. But what's really unique is that the LC500 had a soft top, whereas the SC4 had a hard top roof, and the boot itself is bigger. So it makes a big difference, because you can put more space luggage-wise than an LC500. And if you decide to do a trip where you're not going to be driving with a top down, then you've got a decent boot space. You can really put a lot of luggage, bags in the back. Whereas I think with the LC500, the boot capacity is fairly restricted for start. So the SC430 has that flexibility. If you want to do long journeys, you might not be able to open the roof, but however, you can still put the luggage in the back seat if you wanted to do that. But for a car of this size, it actually offers more space than the LC500, and yet the LC500 is a much bigger car. And the other benefit factor you get with this SC430, this is a smaller car, but easier to drive in town. and you can find parking spaces more easily, whereas with the LC500 it's a much bigger car, and sometimes you have restrictions with width of the roads. You've got these bars on the left side and the right side, and you have to know where they are, because I tend not to take them. If I see that I'm getting into a restricted zone, residential area, this is only because they want to prevent trucks from driving in those areas. Then what you're noticing is that the width is not very wide, but with the SC430, just about doing it quite easily. But the LC500 has rear tires much wider, much bigger than the front. So you think you could get in through the front, but not sure if your wheel is going to get through the barriers. That's what I've noticed. But with the SC430, no problem, and you can have a decent amount of power, sounds, and responsiveness. Absolutely amazing. That really changed the car altogether. So it makes the car a very interesting vehicle for 2025. If you're on a low budget, you can get a car that is decent. I love Porsche 911, fantastic cars, but they're so expensive. I mean, you can go for obviously a second-hand Porsche 911, 997 or 996, but if you like the 993 or the 964 shape, they're super expensive. And yes, it doesn't have that same driving capacity and features, handling like a Porsche 911. You can't compare, they're not the same. But what this car does deliver is on reliability and smoothness driving, comfortable, easy to get around, and that's what you want. It's not going to break the bank, and super reliable, and you want it on servicing to a decent dealership in a garage. And you know, the servicing for my car was fairly cheap. I mean, obviously because I've got a special car care maintenance with Lexus, so you pay a bit every month, but for the entire service and the oil and everything, it was just like something £80 altogether, but there was nothing much done. It certainly gives you a car that is very different from all the others, because it's so rare. The Lexus SC430, there's not many on the road, and when you see one, you can't help it. You feel like you're part of a special group. It did well for a start until Top Gear did the review, and then it kind of went flop straight away. But actually, Top Gear review gave us the opportunity to buy this car afterwards for a much, much cheaper price, because if it's been really desirable and people understood what the car was for, it would have retained its price way, way better. But now I think people are starting to realize what this car is about, and the value of a vehicle will go up because it's becoming more and more desirable. And when people know that Lexus builds quality cars, and that's the thing, is what I find interesting is people sometimes forget is when Lexus design an engine, they will be doing a lot of tests with that engine, and if the engine is working really well, they'll keep that engine for years to come. And they're not going to make a change to that engine. They will only tweak it a little bit, improve some parts, but essentially the engine is the same. So you could have an engine that would be running for years, and the ratio for power with Lexus is something like 80%. They don't want to do anything higher than that, because anything exceeding 80% ratio for power will actually start putting pressure on engine parts. So reliability will not be as good as it should be. So makes a massive benefit. And the SC430, that V8, 4.3 V8 engine has been used for many other cars, and very, very reliable. And really cool, because you know these facts, and it makes an engine very robust. Longevity will go on for a long period of time. If you take Mercedes, BMWs, Audi, They don't work the same way. They use a ratio that will be exceeding 80%. They often do 90% or 92% because they want to give a car the power that the clients want, the customers, and they want a car that is quicker. They'll make it quicker, but then after 2 or 3 years you start having issues with the engines, and that's the problem. Because what you see is the German car manufacturers, they tend to change engine after several years. They quickly go to another engine, but an engine that hasn't done enough test, in my opinion. Lexus is not like this. Before they release the engine, they know they would have tested it for years, and then that will be the engine that will be used for years to come. So if you look at the RCF, the GSF, they use a V8 engine, and I think it is delivering somewhere around 471 brake horsepower. And sometimes people get a bit put off by the numbers because they think it's not a big number, but it's been associated with the 80% ratio power. So they know that at 471 brake horsepower, first you have enough power to have fun with the car. The car will be responsive enough. You'll have good engine reliability that will be bulletproof, and you're guaranteed you'll be owning a car that will not have any problems. And that's the same with the 4.3 litre V8 engine. That car has proven, that engine has proven to be very, very good, and they kept it for a very long time. Even now, this engine is still running. Even Lexus engineers said it's one of their best engines they've delivered. So it's nice to know that the SC430 has some very strong characteristic about being proud of its heritage with Lexus to keep the engine very strong, robust, reliable, and will not let you down. So I'm taking this car to France, and I will be driving around about, I think, 800 miles, and I have no worries whatsoever. I just know that the car's had a full MOT and an annual service, and it will be absolutely fine. Now the roof is up. The engine is still on the same mode with power and 2.9, but I'm going to put it onto normal, and you will see how quiet the car has become. And it feels so different. And completely a different car. And that's the fun part of it, is that you're getting two cars into one. But there's so many things that you can do with this vehicle. This is quite impressive, because I actually did not understand when the SC430 first came out, and I didn't like the shape of the car. I didn't think it was an attractive car at the beginning when it was first launched. I thought it wasn't really a nice shape. But over the years, this car has grown onto me. And when I looked at the shape, I found that the car with the top up is not as nice as when the car has the roof down, in my view. However, with the modifications I have done, put spacers on the wheels, so the car wheels are more aligned with the side of the vehicle, front and back. I think I did 20 mil spacers at the front and 30 mil spacers at the back. But it's just so that the tires are just aligned with the bodywork, because otherwise what you see is the tires are inside the arch, and it doesn't make the car look sort of imposing in a shape. So that was done, and it changed the look of the vehicle, and plus the color of the car that I have changed from the original grey metallic, I think it was, then a complete dark grey color, and change the interiors altogether. done a few renovation work on it. It's very unique, but it makes it quite contemporary, interesting to look at. Some people said, oh, I really don't like the front headlights. But actually, if you work on them, because they can get a bit fuzzy over time, you might have to polish them and do the work. But my advice would be get it done by a professional, because you do it yourself. I've done that before when I had other cars, and you end up damaging the headlights if you're not careful enough, because there's different specific layers. You got a professional to do it. They polish it and make it brand new, and it's not expensive, but it really changes the look of your car. Already, if you've got nice clear headlights, and if you have them, have a protective film like a PPF. You can have it clear PPF or with a tint. I did it with a tint because when I did the dark grey colour, the guys that did the job sort of showed it to me, saying, you know, I think if you did have a blue tint on the headlights, you'll really make the car stand out. Very unique. And I agree, it really made the car look so different. It was so beautiful. You don't lose much intensity with the when the lights are on, with the xenon lights, but it's not as sharp at night. You still see, but if I didn't do the PPF tint, it would have been brighter at night. But it's still, you know, I can still see. I wanted the look of a car, and headlights fine, no problem. All of that passed the MOT with no problem whatsoever. So that's a good thing to know. So you need to make sure you do the work correctly. You don't want to do something that is going to fail your MOT and you tint it a bit too dark, and that changes the look of your vehicle and it's unsafe to drive. I hope you enjoyed the drive, and thank you for taking the time watching this video, and stay tuned. More videos will come. Thank you. Bye now.